Hey, boys and girls, weather report for Monday, November 29th, 2021. It's the end of the world. Omicron.
Don't confuse that with Omega. The really bad one's going to have to be called Omega.
Yeah, Omega. Yeah, Alpha Omega.
It's the Omega virus. Oh, no!
Yes. So, okay, I thought I sent Peter a link.
Omicron is Omega's little brother.
Yeah, I guess, it hasn't gotten really bad yet.
The smaller, less badass little brother.
But Japan shut down all foreign travel or foreigners coming into Japan, and Australia's locking down again. And yeah, we got another one.
Apparently, it's got more mutations in more places. It's almost like they're trying to do a marketing campaign now. Omicron with more mutations.
Yep. Yeah, they're worried that this one has enough mutations that it may bypass vaccines, and that would be a real bitch for all of us. Have to go and develop a new vaccine, and oh my god, we'll be so full of fucking needles that I can't. Anyway, so the thumbnail today, I have a picture of Danny about to catch a fly, which he thinks is a fly, but it's actually a BB. So I don't know if anybody got that, but that was all I need to say about Danny today. So Peter was supposed to show us a video. Midnight was supposed to come in and show a video. I guess we pissed Midnight off because Midnight was on Stinky's channel.
Yeah, we're sorry. We're sorry, Midnight.
We're sorry, Midnight. We're just fucking with you.
Yeah,
we're just sorry. Being lighthearted and a little boisterous. I do apologize.
Yeah, we were being mean to you. Come back, Midnight. Come on. So, So as long as Peter isn't here, and I suppose Peter's going to come in and interrupt this talk, right? Oh, shit. I don't know. Let's see. We got that one. We got Quasi Nerd. Wow.
So what were the videos? What were they going to show? Do you know? Or Midnight had one in, Peter? Yeah,
I've got the videos, but I haven't watched the entire Andrew Newberg video yet. So these are both on spirituality and the brain, basically. So.
Oh, okay.
And I got a short one that I kind of want to go through the entire video, so it's about 7 minutes long. And that would be, let me see here, Sarah Lane Ritchie. I think I linked it in the description. But we were talking a bit about spirituality and, what it means and all that stuff. And I just kind of wanted to elaborate on that a little bit. And I found 2 videos searching for something totally unrelated. I found these 2 videos today. This one is from, let's see, philosophy at the University of Edinburgh. So there's a whole bunch of videos at the University of Edinburgh on philosophy. So anyway, what do you think? Should we play this?
Yeah, sure.
Could be interesting. Yeah. I got to do some stuff though.
You haven't watched it yet?
I did watch it.
Oh, you did?
I thought it was worth watching again.
Yeah.
Given that religious belief is fundamentally embodied and a product of the entire brain-body-environment system, what can be said about the specific relationship between the brain and religious belief? One way to discuss this relationship is by examining the neural correlates of belief, or the specific patterns of brain activity that correlate with religious beliefs and experiences. Now, religious belief and religious experiences are different things, but there is a strong connection between religious experiences, however mild, and a felt sense that God or other spiritual entities are real. When we talk about religious experiences, it's important to note that we're not necessarily talking about dramatic experiences. Religious experience can be as seemingly mild as a sense of God's presence and existence, or a sense of communicating with God in prayer. Religious experience exists on a spectrum, ranging from apparently mild experiences of perceived spiritual realities to more dramatic, altered states of consciousness. And even relatively mild religious experiences serve to enhance a felt sense that God is real.
Okay. So one thing I want to point out here is that feeling of a religious experience can be had by anybody, and it has nothing to do with what you believe in. So it crosses all religions, all beliefs, basically. You don't necessarily have to interpret it as a feeling of God. It's just the feeling that humans have.
Right. It's almost
So
like a twinge in your stomach, like kind of like butterflies, or.
Well, I wouldn't describe it.
I mean, some people can even equate that to it, right? I mean, it's
yeah, maybe
that's kind of what she's almost getting at. That there's a wide range of different
Right.
types of experiences, right? And it
Yeah,
could
I
be
think
simple as that, but also much more, obviously.
Yeah, I just moved an office chair out into my backyard so I could swivel and move around. And I was just sitting out there enjoying the 49 degrees that we have in Minnesota here today and feeling the woods and stuff. And that was what I would describe as a spiritual experience, because I was purposely trying not to cogitate and think about things. I was just looking at the woods, just experiencing. And to me, I think I would have lit up the same areas of the brain that she's talking about. But anyway, it gets a little more interesting.
The fascinating thing is that these experiences of God are neurobiologically real. Researchers can use medical technologies to observe and predict patterns of brain activity that are correlated with particular religious practices and experiences. One researcher examining the neural correlates of religious experience is Andrew Newberg, a neuroscientist who has used brain imaging technologies to study patterns of neural activity during specific religious practices, such as prayer, meditation, or recitation of religious texts. Researchers like Newberg compare the brain states of religious believers engaging in religious activity with baseline brain states of those not engaging in religious activity. What is apparent from this sort of research is that there is no single God spot in the brain, no particular part of the brain structure or a single mechanism that is responsible for making a person experience God. Rather, different spiritual practices are correlated with different patterns of neural activity, and one's felt sense of religious belief is actually a remarkably complex interplay of various parts and processes of the brain. For example, Newberg has found that Buddhist and Christian meditators exhibit decreased activity in the parietal lobe, a part of the brain that is involved in spatial orientation and one's sense of relationship to the world. This decreased activity in the parietal lobe essentially allows the meditator to experience a decreased sense of time and boundaries, and to feel at one with whatever he or she is meditating on, the world as a whole, God, etc. However, other religious experiences are instantiated differently. When charismatic Christians speak in tongues, for example, activity in the parietal lobe actually increases, which makes sense because the parietal lobe is also involved with language formation.
I thought that was interesting. I'd never heard that before. That speaking in tongues, kind of the opposite of meditation.
Yeah, I mean, from what they all seem to fake it, though. So,
yeah.
Of course,
fake it till you make it.
So, but yeah, it's interesting that they did do a study on that, though.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's
I know tongues has been studied quite a bit in all sorts of different sociological journals, and I'm not surprised brain activity during meditative states has been studied either, because it's very interesting.
I think if you were thinking about yourself, you'd have more activity in your parietal lobe, because that kind of locates you in space, and it has it's integral to your sense of self. One of the areas. So when you're speaking in tongues, I think in a lot of ways they're putting on a show.
Yeah.
So if you're putting on a show, but I mean, if they got somebody to just do it, from like some core place, they may see less activity in the parietal lobe. Except further down, where you see the temporal lobe there, that's kind of where the language areas are between the two. And so I don't know, but it'd be interesting to run. Like, I wish I had Andrew Newberg's research funding
That
because
would be nice to have funding.
I could think of a lot of things to check out. So
maybe the next time if I'm not mistaken, I believe Rebecca has had some experience with speaking in tongues. I thought she mentioned that.
Oh, really? Okay.
I thought I heard her say that briefly.
Well, I'm sure there's plenty of
up.
tongue speakers out there on YouTube's.
Yeah, I'm sure there is, but maybe you could bring that up.
Of course, now I've got that song "Rubber Biscuit" going on in my head. Thanks a lot for talking about speaking in tongues.
Yeah.
David said the magic word, and here I am.
Yep. And thanks a lot, David, for outing poor Midnight. He snuck in there. He knew I wouldn't be watching, and you nailed him.
I shouldn't have done that, I guess. Next time I'll keep my mouth shut.
Let's try to finish this video. Oh, I didn't ask you to do that.
For a moment there, I thought that you were saying that you were going to finish Midnight. Glad I misheard.
Yeah, we're going to finish him.
We're having our atheist prayers and trying to get Midnight back, but they're not working.
Yeah, he's not coming back.
Praying doesn't work, so
he mad at us now.
Yeah,
he probably went over to Smokey's channel.
Yeah, maybe. Oh boy.
Plus, the individual speaking in tongues would not experience the timelessness and connection with the universe that the meditator was experiencing, but she would feel that she was engaged in real dialogue with God. This is just one small example of the many ways that different religious practices lead to different patterns of brain activity, and thus to different types of religious experiences. And again, a neurobiologically felt experience of God or other spiritual reality involves coordinated whole brain activity. Belief is a holistic phenomenon that involves the whole brain, body, environment system. So while there may not be a single process of the brain that is responsible for religious belief, it is apparent that at the very least, observable and predictable patterns of brain activity are correlated with religious belief and experience. But this brings us to an important question. Does neuroscience...
One of the things that Newberg found was that in meditation, like deep meditation, that he expected to see more activity in the brain and in certain focused areas. And what he saw is a less activity, but, diffuse activity across the brain. So some areas were like shut down, which is also, remember that article we just found on psychedelics where they were surprised that, there was like less activity.
Yep.
Rather than more activity. It's interesting. Anyway.
Scientific knowledge about religious belief and experience disprove one's felt experience of spiritual realities?
No.
Or does such research simply highlight the fact that all religious experiences are correlated with brain processes, but not necessarily caused by them? The question here is one of causation. Does the brain create a sense that God is real? Or does a real interaction with God lead to changes in the brain? Does the brain essentially create God? Or is real interaction with God simply correlated with observable neural activation patterns? Atheist scholars would argue that the tight relationship between brain activity and one's felt experience of God leaves no room for non-physical causes. In other words, one might argue for methodological naturalism, or the working assumption in contemporary science that only natural causes should be invoked in scientific explanations about the world.
Okay, I deny that. For me, methodological naturalism is not that at all. Methodological naturalism is a method, basically, for exploring the world and looking for natural and physical causes. It doesn't have to say any metaphysical. It doesn't have to make any ultimate or metaphysical statement about what you expect to find. You should be open to finding whatever you find.
Some, then, might argue that contemporary science has provided more than ample evidence to suggest that religious belief and experience are neurobiological phenomena that can be observed and measured with brain imaging technologies. Others might argue that we need to apply Occam's razor to this question. That is, that the simplest explanation is the best one, and that in this case, the simplest explanation for religious belief is a scientific one. Because we know that certain types of practices and experiences will be reliably accompanied by a felt sense of God or other spiritual realities, the simplest explanation might be that the entire religious experience is best understood in neurobiological terms. The brain creates a sense of God's existence and presence. Others, however, argue that neuroscientific research on the neural correlates of belief prove nothing about the reality or unreality of God. They point out that the causal connection between the brain and belief has not been established. That is, if God exists and interacts with conscious human beings, then of course the brain would respond accordingly. In other words, one might argue that it is completely unsurprising that the brain exhibits neural correlates for belief in response to real interaction with God.
But why would God shut down the parietal lobe to talk to his victims? It doesn't quite make sense. I mean, there would be something going on in your brain as a result of God talking to you through the spirit medium, but why would it show across all these different religions that the parietal lobe is dampened, in effect? The parietal lobe being, particularly the junction, the temporal parietal junction, the junction between those two things, locates you in time and space and gives you a sense of yourself being in a place. Okay, and that's kind of the core. And when you melt that down, you end up with this weird sort of floaty feeling. Like people that experience these out-of-body experiences, definitely something has really gone wrong with that particular part of your brain. It's completely not working the way it should because you can't locate you. So you don't even know where the fuck you are. You're kind of floating off in the wherever you imagine.
What I find more interesting is that when God starts talking to someone, he always chooses some insignificant human being that has no influence anywhere, whereas he could talk to world leaders and make sure that we've got a better planet. So,
but Peter, what if he talked to world leaders and told them to blow up another country? That wouldn't be good either. We don't want him talking to world leaders, please. Please, world leaders.
I'm just saying,
don't talk to God.
Apparently, so the God that I'm talking about is the God that I talk about most, which is the Christian one, who apparently loves us and wants all of us to know him. And yet here he is, apparently silent to everyone who doesn't know him, talking to those who already know him.
Yeah. That
just doesn't seem like a smart God to me.
Yep. Yeah, it doesn't make much sense there, does it?
Okay, let's roll ahead and see if we get through this.
In fact, it might be more surprising if the brain did not exhibit neural correlates to one's experience of spiritual realities. To the extent that mental or spiritual experiences are mediated by the brain, one would expect God to elicit neural activity in the brain. Perhaps ironically, this argument also relies on Occam's razor. While an atheist approach would say that the simplest explanation for belief is that it is created by the brain without any interaction with a real God, critics would argue that this is not a real explanation. Rather, they would argue that the simplest explanation is that the brain is actually responding to God, and that God is thus necessary for a full explanation of the neural correlates of religious experience and belief. In other words, real.
Why do we have different gods talking to different people, all of which are geographically in a specific location? So we don't find Allah talking to people in North America, for instance, but he seems to be talking to people in the Middle East, while as the Christian God predominantly talks to people in Northern America, but doesn't say a peep in any Islamic countries. Why is that? Does God doesn't have a passport and there are several gods, or do these gods have divided up the earth?
There's several gods, but they each have their own sales territory, and occasionally there's crossing over. So I think it's like a Chevrolet dealership association.
Well, all the religious people are going to argue that point. Right? They're all going to argue. I mean, there are Christians in the Middle East, right? There's Christians in the Middle East, There's Muslims in North America, so they're going to argue that, and that'll be it. That'll be their argument, right?
Well, here's the other thing about this. Now, okay, there's this rhetoric going on with Sal Cordova and SFT and a bunch of others that modern science is just now proving God, that we're using modern science and we're finding out that, God is really likely because evolution, right?
It's popping up like popcorn, man. I'll tell you what, it's growing like a weed.
Right. Yeah. Okay, so let me finish my fucking point. Okay. Can I finish? Can I finish?
Go ahead.
Can I finish?
Yeah.
Okay. Can I finish?
Antangelo, go.
So we have that dialogue, right? Or that rhetoric, right? So, okay, here is God's perfect opportunity. He's got Andrew Newberg brain scanning people that are talking to God. He could have shown that the brain wasn't doing anything at all when you were talking to God, that there was no correlation. Because if there had been no correlation, no activity in the brain at all, and God was talking to these people, there would have been. Science would have proven God. But no, the omnipotent God missed this perfect fucking opportunity. He couldn't have predicted that Andrew Newberg was going to get a CT scan and the funding to do it. And
what if the image that they were taking, no matter what was being said, no matter what activity was being engaged in, it made the shape of a cross.
Exactly.
A perfect cross. That would be the opportunity.
Right.
Or whatever, was it some sort of star and sickle or something like that with the Islamic faith, whatever shape, it would just do that in the brain.
Or just a swastika.
Okay.
Oh.
Can I...
Anyway,
can I respond? I want to respond to something Scott said about 20 minutes ago about the car dealership thing. We might have a video regarding that.
Did you
car dealership thing?
You didn't send it to me.
I didn't.
No.
Oh damn! I did send it. I did send it to AJ. I'll send it to you.
We can't show that though.
But if I send it to you, I want you to purchase a gong.
Purchase a gong. Okay.
Yeah, just like the one in the video in the car dealership when someone has been very successful, you bang on the gong. And there's another thing that I wanted to reply to, and that was Stephanie Tretton. She said she replied to something, and I have no clue because it's a while back. She said, so that Peter can ask that question. Of course, the answer is in your question, Peter. I have no clue.
No clue. Okay, Stephanie.
Because that was probably in response to something we said earlier, so I have no clue what you mean.
Okay, Chris, I did link your video, but I haven't had a chance to look at that one, Jung versus Nietzsche. Okay, let's try to get through the rest of this. We got a minute left. We can do it. Can we do it, guys?
Yeah, we can do it. We're good.
Probably.
And interacts with humanity, then any explanation that cuts God out would actually be an incomplete explanation. We can see then that there are various ways to interpret brain research on religious experience and belief. While researchers may be able to predict and observe religious experience in a felt sense of belief, the empirical data is insufficient for making judgments about God's reality or non-reality. We can say that there is a very strong, tight correlation between religious practices and experiences and specific patterns in the brain. But how this correlation is to be interpreted is another question altogether. Neuroscience can explain what is happening in the brain when one is experiencing God in some way, but it cannot determine whether or not those neural correlates are actual responses to spiritual realities. We must look beyond neuroscience to answer our questions about the relationship between physical instantiations of belief and their possible correlation with supernatural entities.
Okay, and the reason for that, the reason that it doesn't disprove God is because God is sufficiently non-existent that nothing can disprove God. God is sufficiently just a story that there's no way to get around it. I mean, there's no way to fight it ultimately, right? Other than common sense. Common sense might help you, but anyway. So there's that. And then I have one more video that Midnight was supposed to come in and review. What just happened? Oh, everybody got a ghostly look to them. I have no idea why. And then we're going to look at Rebecca.
Ghostly look?
Yeah,
Ghostly look?
My cat sat on my mouse and highlighted everybody, so everybody looked ghostly to me. Everybody, I got kind of spooked, kind of creeped out, kind of freaked the fuck out.
You actually have a very good ghostly face, Peter.
Yeah, it looks like he just saw a ghost. Scooby-Doo.
Yep. Okay. So
I have the best GIF as my profile picture.
So I haven't.
You're picking up where you left off with Stephanie. When was that last stream? Was it Friday? I don't know. She was pissed at you. I know that.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Was that Friday?
I think it was Friday. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So I just want to introduce Andrew Newberg.
Icarus, speed of Grasso.
By the way,
finish?
Andrew Newberg wrote a book which I bought like years ago already, and it was named. Let's see, what is the name? I think it's Belief. He's got a bunch of books. Oh my goodness, words could say why we believe what we believe, and how God changes your brain. Those are the two that I own. He also wrote Principles of Neurotheology, How Enlightenment Changes Your Brain, The Metaphysical Mind, Probing the Biology of Philosophical Thought, Words Can Change Your Brain, and Why God Won't Go Away. So he's got, Christ, 8 books. Oh, The Rabbi's Brain and Brain Weaver. So he's got 10 books, 11 books. Wow. Cool. Anyway, so I just wanted to introduce him. So I haven't gone through this video, and it probably needs to be gone through. But Midnight was supposed to watch
His
it.
books include How Enlightenment Changes Your Brain, The Metaphysical and Religion, also research, and is a pioneer in.
Okay, going back too far.
An hour and 25 minutes.
Yeah, we got to listen to the whole thing.
Oh, goody.
Final speaker today, Dr.
Goody.
Andrew Newberg. So Dr. Newberg is a neuroscientist, author, professor, and the research director in the Marcus Institute of Integrative Health at Thomas Jefferson University in Philadelphia. He studies how brain function is associated with various mental states and is a pioneer in the neurological study of religious and spiritual experiences, a field known as neuroethology. Dr. Newberg's research has included brain scans of people in prayer, meditation, rituals, and trance states, as well as surveys of people's spiritual experiences and attitudes. He has also evaluated the relationship between religious or spiritual phenomena and health, and the effect of meditation on memory. He believes that it is important to keep science rigorous and religion religious. Some of his books include How Enlightenment Changes Your Brain, The Metaphysical Mind.
Between our spiritual selves and our biological cells, what's going on in our brain as
okay.
Foreskin.
So you see all the words we have?
Whose channel is this, Speed?
This is the Weekend University.
We should hook those people up with Midnight. Midnight reads a lot better than this doofus.
Yeah, okay.
Neurotheology.
He said neuroethology, didn't he? It's neurotheology is what he talks about. But anyway, so there's all these words for enlightenment: knowledge, gnosis, wisdom, science, reason, oneness, unity, ecstasy, pure consciousness, emptiness, selflessness, revelation, all this shit. They're all for
Epiphany.
Deep epiphany?
No,
deep.
Epiphany.
Oh, how about deep epiphany?
I had the deepest epiphany in a while.
I had the deepest epiphany.
What? How about just deepiphany? If you didn't have an epiphany, you had a deepiphany.
Or deepity. Oh, anyway, in the beginning, there was one part. Shit, I wish I'd bookmarked it. But Newberg talks about. He talks about. Fuck, we got to listen to just a little bit of this, okay? All right.
Okay.
It grows a little bit out of the work that I did on the topic of enlightenment or awakening. And in fact, when we start to think about these kinds of questions and these kinds of topics, what I want people to realize is that there are a lot of, we have to sort of start with what the experiences are. As you heard in my introduction, I believe it's really essential to keep science rigorous, meaning that we do good science, but you need to keep the religious, the spiritual, meaning that you have to understand what people are really feeling and thinking about. Because if we don't understand the subjective qualities of these experiences, then whatever we can say is going on in the brain or in the body, it doesn't really have any meaning unless you can connect the two. So a lot of my research has been doing brain scans, but a lot of it has been doing a variety of different surveys and trying to understand what people really feel and think about when they say, I feel spiritual, or I feel like I have had a spiritual or a mystical experience or an enlightenment experience. And in fact, as this first slide shows, the notion of enlightenment has many different. I could have put any of these words as the first word, as the title word on the slide. Things like knowledge, wisdom, awakening, transformation, self-realization, holiness, pure consciousness. So all of these things are part, or could be a part, of a person's experience of enlightenment. But we need to go further. We need to really understand what these different terms mean. And then ultimately, we need to think about how they link up to what's going on in our brains so that we can try to best understand them. And as you also heard in the introduction, this really deals in a field called neurotheology.
What's up? I like how these words are arranged. Clarity, inner peace, holiness, revelation, God, emptiness. Just saying.
Yep. I feel empty. I'm gonna hang myself now. Okay, yeah.
Well, to steel man this a little bit, the idea of emptiness, I think, is emptiness of. Well, actually, it says God emptiness.
Yeah.
Oh, so God. I thought it meant like emptiness of your mind.
No, those are two things because they don't put dashes in between.
Oh, okay. So emptiness. Yeah, emptiness is the like emptying of your desire and self and an awareness.
I was so hoping that purity liberation was one word too.
Purity liberation. Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, I think he gets to the point here that I want to make.
Imagine sitting there having to come up with words, and then you got to God and think, what else? Oh, emptiness.
Emptiness. Okay. Buddhist-like emptiness.
But you're doing this on purpose. You're doing this on purpose, right? Talking about spirituality again when I'm here.
I am.
Yeah,
well, I was hoping I was not going to invite you to this talk because I know how triggered you get. I know how triggered you get.
I've been behaving, haven't I?
You have. I'm surprised. I'm holding my breath here. It's like, oh shit, Peter, shit. Anyway, okay. I think he makes a point here,
which is looking to find the relationship.
I think I now make up the first line.
You do? Knowledge, gnosis, wisdom, science, reason? That one?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, you bring that. You're bringing it, Peter. You're bringing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I bring the emptiness, selflessness, pure consciousness. Okay.
See, this is why you should have had Midnight on, because Midnight could have been transformation, self-realization, and illumination.
Yeah, perfect.
We had to open our damn mouths and piss them off. Oh well. Once again, we're sorry, Midnight. Please come back.
Maybe
I did that yesterday, so
maybe we'll get through this and I'll pause and give him a call. But I think it's kind of too late. But anyway. I kind of want to see.
You're first going to go over the thing that he wanted to go over, and when you're done with that, you're going to give him a call.
Well, I went over 7 minutes of this video. He was tasked with going over the entire video, so I wanted to get his impression of the whole thing because I haven't had a chance. I've been busy.
I like the second line myself. There's too many in there, though. There's a lot of
ecstasy, awakening, bliss, purity.
I like the bliss and purity. I definitely bring that.
That's how I feel when I get out of the tub.
Yeah.
Bliss and purity and awakening.
Yeah.
I guess ecstasy, unity, and oneness with the water. I feel oneness with the water because we come from the ocean, right? So we have oneness.
Wait.
Well,
so you earlier you mentioned deepity. We have one in the chat.
We have a deepity?
I'm probably going to piss off Stephanie again. Emptiness is fullness if you fill it.
All right. Look at the
that
comment.
Is
Icarus,
a deepity.
Look at the comment Icarus put about midnight. Okay. Now,
is that like what?
here's a perfect point that everybody fools around and plays with midnight, but boy, when I say anything, I get myself in deep shit. I don't know why. Like, come on, look at what people say all the time. I don't even come close to that.
I think we probably pick on them too much.
Yeah, well, I stopped. I'm
not
doing it anymore.
In hindsight, clarity is not a part of that.
Yeah.
So,
hi, Randolph.
We're stuck with illumination and transparency. Hey, Randolph.
Peter Bogosian. Okay, let's try.
Had to be a Peter, right?
Every time I played a video, Peter says something. Let me try again.
Going on in our brain, as well as what is going on in terms of our own experiences and our own sense of spirituality.
Yes.
Now, I want to take a little step back and talk about this concept of enlightenment in particular, and which really, again, has a lot to do with transformation. And I think what I'm going to talk about now over the next few minutes about what enlightenment is can really apply to any of these kinds of terms, because basically there are sort of the small experiences, the small transformational experiences, and then there are the big ones. So when we talk about, for example, enlightenment, we talked about in our book, How Enlightenment Changes Your Brain, the differentiation between the big E enlightenment experiences and the little e enlightenment experiences. And the little e experiences are basically defined by the term itself, basically that it is shedding some light on our ignorance of a particular part of our lives, a particular question, a particular issue. It brings us out of the darkness. And part of why I think these experiences are helpful for all of us is that we've all had them. So, not all of us have struck the big, Buddha type of enlightenment, but almost all of us have had these little aha moments.
Okay, that's what I wanted to point out, is that I maintain that this whole enlightenment thing is on a spectrum, going from those little experiences that we all have every day. Like, you walk into a room and you think you see something, and they're like, whoa, I'm seeing something else, and you have this sort of brain slap, and you have this like moment, and then you realize what you've seen, and your brain settles down. And anyway, I've studied the circuits that do that in your brain, the circuits that give you that fuck feeling, and then they settle down afterwards. So it's really an interesting phenomena. And when you get these biggie experiences, they can completely do a paradigm change in your brain. And I think something similar happened to me, but it was over a period of a year or two, where I turned from a Fox News Republican to a fucking freak far, like way out on the left end, so that the end it's bendy out here. So I mean, it's these kinds of things where you have a realization and suddenly you change your mind. Changing your mind is a wonderful experience, and it gives you a feeling of peace somewhat, and it's really interesting. And I think there's a lot of people in this country that really fucking need to change their minds once in a while. Kind of like you change your underwear. You got to change your mind as often as you change your shirt or whatever. So anyway, but there's more, and I believe I've linked this in the description. So, and we might return to it if I go over the whole video today. I might be able to get to it. Yeah, okay. I did link it in the description. So anyway, that was my point. Spirituality is a normal human brain state. It's what you feel. Now, have you ever heard this stuff about when a predator latches onto a deer, the deer will fight, and then at a certain point, the deer completely gives up? And I think they have
like
done
going into shock, right?
Well, no, it's sort of a complete a complete giving up, that feeling, when you completely give up and it's like, okay, there's no way out of this. I'm going to quit fighting and just, die peacefully. But anyway, there's something that happens in the brain when you have extreme trauma, anxiety, or like a period of or like a really seriously bad drunk.
Well, you can also see like that doesn't happen every time. So, right? I mean, not
every
if
time.
you watch prey animals, a lot of times that will happen, but it doesn't happen all the time.
Yeah, but it's interesting that it happens at all. And okay, recovery from alcohol and drug addiction is very much involved in that complete giving up. You just you come to a full stop in your life, and you get to the point where you just completely, from a visceral level, you say, I don't know what the fuck to do next. And then all of a sudden something happens to you that's transformative, and you can actually sober up for some period of time as a result of this experience. And it's the oddest damn thing. And we need to study this shit because it's more than just correlated with neural experience. It is neural experience. And there is science that can illuminate this and tell us more about it. So anyway, that's kind of my point on spirituality.
Do you know if this guy is religious or not? Or
I've never been able to figure it out. He's really interesting. Now he will say that we need to, basically what he said is that we need to not discount the subjective experience or the religious part of it, right? And he won't do that in any of his research or any of his books. He will not pick a side of the fence. So I don't know. You can read his entire book and you get no idea what he believes. He won't go there.
Yeah.
And he does this on purpose. And he's got a point.
Yeah.
Because whatever these experiences are, you don't need to have any belief to feel them. That's the one thing that he has never said out loud, but I think it's kind of the result of his work, is that you do not need to be a believer to feel this extreme peace, right?
Right, yeah.
Sometimes all it takes is to be hungry enough and have enough barbecue with some blues music in the background. You will have a spiritual experience.
Right. And watching the series Big Sky is the opposite of that.
Yes.
I'm not biting.
Okay. Anyway.
Not biting.
So, not biting? Okay, good. Anyway,
no.
So it's just very interesting. And the thing is, answers in atheism, that is a fucking answer in atheism that you do not have to deny or reject these experiences or believe that only religious people get these fucking weird feelings, because we all get them and we can all live a fairly peaceful, non-combative life without any God at all. And in fact, atheism makes that a lot easier, because if you start to believe in something and you start to dig into dogma, you're going to lose this feeling of spiritual experience, because it is the opposite of belief. It has nothing to do with believing in something. You don't have to believe in anything at all to be an organism, to feel, to, basically feel the wind on your face. And so in a lot of ways, religious dogma is countering the whole point of this shit, which is peace in our lives. And that's kind of my answer in atheism. Okay. But
yeah, because that's all the, you look at all these Christians that we deal with, right? Look what they do now, or what they've been doing. That's all they're doing is battling over their doctrine, right? So that's, that goes.
Which is kind of funny.
Right. And it was kind of funny. That was one question that I asked. It was Jay Pasek and Gurr, right? Both of those guys have come from highly religious family backgrounds. They were very religious themselves. And that was kind of a question that I asked them is, don't you find it, much more peaceful, much easier way of living once you became an atheist, because you don't have those types of battling over doctrine, battling over trying to interpret the Bible a certain way or figure this out or figure that out. You don't have any of that, right?
Yeah.
And they did say, yeah, exactly. Both of them agreed that they did have that feeling that, yeah, it is easier to be an atheist because you don't have all that dogma to deal with. Yeah.
Oh, how do you use this? Who did the rage DM on Twitter?
Randolph. I think.
Okay.
Randolph.
Nobody ever DMs me on Twitter. Nobody loves me.
No, because you're never on Twitter. I tried.
I know. I just went on Twitter and I realized I didn't have a Twitter thing open anymore.
What?
I am so sorry.
Maybe you weren't paying attention in chat, but Stephanie loves you because you didn't read her. Yeah, because she said,
"Thank you."
Oh,
Thank
my
you,
other favorite atheist. What did she write? She wrote. Look back at her comment. Her rage is
speaking about
her other favorite atheist besides Speed.
Oh,
wow. Speaking about Twitter, I got a really
that's it.
I got a really weird apology on Twitter. From
Otangelo?
I don't know, some Brazilian.
Did you really?
I won't say any names, but yes. I kept timing him out, and he was a little bit pissed off, and then Ye said, "No, wait." Titan Uranus said, "You can apologize to Peter, and maybe he will stop." And so,
I saw
really
that. I was
weird
in
apology.
That. Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah,
I was reading all those back and forth. Yeah, Antangelo was
it started when you finally stopped lying about me or something like that. That's a really bad way to start an apology.
I think
and then not mention the thing that you're apologizing for is also not that bright.
I think we need to find him a YouTube video on how to apologize.
That might actually be a good topic to cover for like 10 or 15 minutes. I think a lot of people who are a little prideful, a little full of themselves, need to know how to craft a good apology.
Yeah. You don't say...
See, here's the thing. Apologizing isn't in the Bible.
Oh,
it's unbiblical.
But what is apologetics then? It's not in the Bible? I thought that was in the Bible. Anyway.
That's
apologetics
to give an answer. So they're giving answers to questions about that.
Okay, we'll call it apologism, the science of apologetics.
The word apologize comes from the word apologetics, but the word apologetics does not mean apologize.
There's one word
on the contrary.
There's one word that you need to leave out of your vocabulary when you apologize, and that is but. You can never say but.
Exactly.
Speaking of apologies,
that's also a good one.
Speaking of apologies, Midnight is back, and I am apologizing on air.
Sorry,
Please come back, Midnight. We're very sorry.
We love you.
Yeah, we love you.
Miss
Please
you.
come back.
Yeah.
We tried to get you back, but
yes, I apologize as well. I'm an asshole.
Yeah, we're all assholes.
I'm not. Yeah. I'm not going to apologize.
Apologetics.
I want to sing that song. It's too late to apologize. Beautiful song. Makes me cry.
An apology consists of what you did wrong, how sorry you are for what you did wrong, and how you're going to endeavor never to do it again. And that's the end of the apology. Then you walk out of the room. You mic drop and you walk out of the room. You don't say but. Just mic drop. Anyway.
I think you should make a video about that, post that, and that would be one of your answers in atheism.
Yeah, well, there's a whole thing in the AA 9-step about how to apologize, and your sponsor will tell you exactly how to do it, and there's a formula, for doing it badly. And one other thing that they mention in AA too frequently is you never apologize to your best friend for sleeping with his wife if he didn't know that you slept with his wife.
Hey, highlight guitar.
That's real good advice.
Yeah, that is real good advice. Highlight what?
Highlight Guitar Dog there. His comment. I never apologize. I'm sorry. That's just the way I am. That's a good one.
That's good.
Yep.
Yeah,
that was a good one.
That is good. Hey, if you ain't an asshole, sometimes you ain't living right. Raging
But-
atheist. Good
But
words.
if you
Good
never
words, Rage.
apologize and you're sorry that that's just the way you am, then you have to go back and apologize to all the people you apologize for apologizing to them, because that's just the way you are.
There you go.
Yeah.
And if you can figure that out, then you should apologize for that.
Yeah,
For sure.
Oh,
I
boy.
apologize for trying to bring that up. I do apologize. Yeah, I'm going on mute now.
Yep.
I apologize.
I'm
for
sorry, I
everything.
missed that. I had to step away for a minute. Can you say that again?
Yeah, I don't think so.
Was there
I
anybody here
think I
that-
would have to have a spiritual experience or something before I could say that again.
Oh, they have a new
I
thing.
did that to. Damn, who did I do that to? I think it was Jefferson. I said I missed the first hour of your show. Can you give it to me in a nutshell? And he actually started doing that, and I said that was a joke.
Hey, Midnight, did you watch that Newberg video?
The what?
That Andrew Newberg video?
Do you mean the special? Sorry, I didn't watch the entire thing. I got 12 minutes, 38 seconds in.
Your one job. You had one job.
Also, I'd like to say that your apology, it sucked. Okay, you really need to work on your apologies.
All right. Well, I
We're
really
sorry,
meant mine.
Midnight. We're sorry.
I want to
really-
sincerely apologize for the lack of
Sincerity?
completeness of my last apology.
Okay, that's enough. Moving on.
We're sorry we picked on you for your complete lack of self-control and going on Stinky's channel. But anyway, so you didn't. So the 12-minute. So you didn't watch the video. Okay.
I didn't watch the entire thing, but I did find it interesting how he differentiates from little enlightenment with the little e and enlightenment with the big E.
Yeah, I like that.
Let's see, and then there was yeah, it's a good video. I need to definitely
Maybe we'll
definitely
get
watch
more of it for tomorrow. But anyway, in the meanwhile, we have God, Rebecca. I saw this and I don't know how to feel about this.
Just feel what you feel,
Yeah,
man. Just feel
I
what you feel.
apologize. Pete, I apologize. I forgot to send her an email.
Oh, I could send her one. But
Okay,
You
this
know-
is what?
okay, I just want to straighten this out. This whole idea that when we review a video, or like when I pick on Danny, that I have to have Danny in the room while I pick on him. That isn't what this channel's about. This channel's about picking on people who can't defend themselves. Wait a minute, did I say that right?
Which is a lot lot better way to do it.
I think so.
I'm kidding.
I think it's a better way to do it.
It depends on the person. In this case, I wouldn't mind if Rebecca was here.
Yeah, I think it's kind of embarrassing, but let's listen to it. But I guess it's kind of revealing into how they think. So we got 3 minutes to get through. Can we do it?
This is bad.
The chicken or the egg? This question isn't hard for someone who believes in God, but it is a difficult question for someone who believes in evolution. The answer is that God made the chicken, the egg, and the rooster, which all had to exist at the same time in order for the next generation to appear. The chicken and the egg is likely an insurmountable problem for the theory of evolution, because evolution needs millions of years for things to develop. And the problem is, when it comes to chickens or any other living thing, you don't have millions of years to develop a complex reproductive system. And even harder is finding a mate that has a totally different
foreskin.
reproductive system.
Foreskin. We are talking about a population. That's a great pause, by the way. We're talking about the population, not a single chicken and a single rooster. A single rooster wouldn't even have one single chicken because he needs more than one.
Well, it definitely gets better. Okay. Listen.
But so here's I'll keep that for later.
Okay. I just invited Rebecca. So
Be perfectly compatible with yours. We not only need a chicken and an egg, we need a rooster and fast.
This is
Here's
Kent
the
Hovind.
evolutionary explanation for the chicken and the egg problem. The egg came first because from inside that first egg, the first chicken was hatched. But wait, then what laid the first egg? The answer is the proto-chicken. The proto-chicken was something like a chicken, but not exactly like a chicken, and it laid the first chicken egg. Okay, then where did the proto-chicken come from? The answer, the proto-chicken egg. Now we can keep going back and back and back to the
Yes, we can. Yes, she's kind of good. She's kind of getting it.
Hold on. No, she's not getting it because she's still talking about proto chickens.
Yeah,
that's not how that works.
Yeah, well,
that's not how that works. You get your name from your parents. Your parents do not get your name from you. So there is no proto Rebecca.
Yeah, but my mom and dad
Rebecca
were
is a product of all the protos.
My mom and dad were.
So if there would be.
Peter, my mom and dad were proto-humans. They were proto-humans. My mom and dad.
Why is it you can't accept evolution just because, which came first, the chicken or the egg? I really hate that goddamn question. You know what I mean? Because the answer, there used to be such a big thing. Well,
it gets worse.
Yeah. Okay, let's just unleash this.
Evolutionists will say that the proto chicken was some kind of dinosaur, but the problem isn't solved. No matter how far back you go, you've got to explain how we got a complex reproductive system, one capable of laying eggs, to develop in a single lifetime.
Okay, let's do a little Danny.
Okay, pause.
Hey, Dannykins first.
In a single.
In
a single lifetime.
I said Dannykins first, Peter.
Yeah, I said.
Okay. I'm just a bit excited because
meditate. Now go stick your head in that MRI. Make a cross. Okay, I was just going to say. Do scientists really say that? Because Rebecca has not offered one paper, nothing out of a text, a textbook or anything to support what she's saying about what scientists think. So
Scott,
okay, Peter.
It is the opposite, which I will prove in a few minutes.
I love the idea that the proto chicken was a dinosaur. Like my proto grandparents were dinosaurs.
The chicken is still a dinosaur.
Yeah, chicken. Okay. Anyway. Okay.
Chickens or eggs and dinosaurs or eggs and amphibians. You don't have millions of years to develop anything. You have a
foreskin
time.
But we do have millions of years.
She actually thinks that a reproductive system has to develop in a single lifetime.
Yeah.
So then this is my problem. She now has a channel challenging evolution. If you're going to start a channel challenging evolution, there's one thing you do first, which is what I did when I started a channel challenging young Earth creationism. I watched tons and tons of creationist videos, watched their websites, looked up what their explanations were. so that I could actually steelman their position.
Yeah.
Rebecca hasn't done that. Rebecca hasn't spent a single minute figuring out what we actually know. And Speed, it is time. Scroll down on that page and look at the most recent comment.
Whoa. Whoa. Where are the comments? Where are the comments? There it is. Creation myths. That one?
Exactly. It's not a one lifetime process. The evolution of sexual reproduction is pretty well understood, and we can see the probable steps from asexual to sexual existing today. And now reveal the reply.
Okay, I'm afraid to. I'm scared, Peter.
It is bad.
I'm afeared. I'm afeared.
However, the evolution of sexual reproduction is not understood. She's talking to a scientist who tells her that it is pretty well understood. Instead of asking, can you provide me some links on what we know so far, she just says, nuh-uh. And that is dishonest. I'm sorry, but it's just dishonest.
Well, she's being dishonest with herself, I think. Not on purpose.
Yes. She's doing herself
a disfavor.
A disfavor, yeah.
Yep. Oh, let's see.
That animal dies out.
Now this is.
It doesn't have
it
more
gets
than
better.
a lifetime to learn how to reproduce. If a chicken can't find a mate and lay an egg, there won't be another chicken. If a dinosaur can't find a mate
It's
and
Ray
lay
Comfort.
an egg, there won't be another dinosaur.
I know.
The reproductive system must be fully functioning during the lifetime of that animal. Reproductive systems are complex machinery, not the type of thing that can spontaneously form inside an
It must be
organism
really fun
in a
on dates.
lifetime. At least that is not something that has ever been scientifically observed.
No.
Okay.
There
Oh,
is no
pause.
scientific-
She's right about that.
Pause.
We've never observed. We've never observed a reproductive system popping up.
Go back 5 seconds and have her say that one more time,
which
so we all can hear it.
never been scientifically observed. There is no.
There's never been
scientific
scientifically.
answer to which came first, the chicken or
Right. We've never scientifically observed a reproductive system popping into existence overnight.
No, and now play the rest of the video, please.
But we have seen them form in 9 months, basically with ultrasound.
Mhm.
We have seen that. Okay.
or the egg. There are only stories. Some people like just so stories. Some people are content
Jesus
to
rose from the
believe
grave.
these evolutionary tall tales. I believe the story that begins with, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth.
And that's not a story?
Foreskin. When
Foreskin.
have we scientifically observed God creating anything?
I know. Or in the beginning.
Just as a single cell. I want to see God create one single cell. Can I have that scientifically observated, seen in real time? Observated. Can I see that? This is and this is what is making me mad. They will tell you, we haven't observed this, we haven't observed that, but here's my Bible with all these stories that we've never observed.
Yeah, I think she's doing just a very crude form of tu quoque, where she's saying, well, see, you guys, you scientist people tell stories, so that justifies me telling a story about God, which
and that is
she's
revealing.
using a narrative
And that is,
form of an explanation and making it equivalent to a mythic story.
It's worse. She's making a scientific paper equivalent to a story, and this is where I have a problem with everything.
Except she doesn't
It's
show
not a
evidence
story.
of having read a science paper too. I think she's just pulling stuff out of that creationist zeitgeist and just pulling all those excuses together.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
We'll see how she runs it. But I love the part about
Hold on. Leo Phileas, things don't pop into existence, not now, not ever. Are you sure?
I'm pretty sure.
I'm pretty sure that physicists have found particles that pop into existence.
Virtual
Without a
particles, as AJ is so eloquently asked.
Well,
Virtual particles.
It's probably a little deeper
Mhm.
than that. I don't know. Anyway. Okay. Let's finish.
Thanks for watching this video.
Oh, that's it. That's it. That's it. That's it.
Well, at least I think that was the most important part. We watched it.
I wonder if this was from her a
I
transformation
would
or
love your
transfer
feedback.
from her other channel, because I haven't watched any of on her, what's the name of her other channel, Exploring Evolution or something like that she has.
Exploring evolution.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and she has a few
the
short
reason-
videos on there, and I haven't had a chance to watch any of them on evolution, obviously. So I haven't had a chance to
No.
watch them. I don't know if those are interesting or not, but very similar to that.
I haven't watched any of that either. Although I'm invited to come on that channel, so
Well, she's
I'm
got a
looking
bunch of
forward to
short ones.
that.
Look
I'm-
over on that channel. She's got a bunch of short ones
Mhm.
on there. She's got longer ones
Well-
too, but some of them are only like 10 minutes long. So, and even
the
shorter. some are like
reason
5
that
or
I
6
picked this.
minutes. Yeah,
Yeah,
sorry.
the reason that I picked this video is because it was doing the rounds on Twitter, and people like Jackson Wheat and Arn Ra were asked to reply to that, and Arn Ra said, "I already spoke to the woman, and she doesn't want to listen." I have no clue. I didn't ask him. I haven't had a chance to ask him when he talked to her. I don't think it was on his channel though, but.
She's getting a lot
I
of
have
flack from the-
invited her.
Go ahead.
I have invited her to come on Jackson Wheat's channel.
Yeah.
So
She's been getting a lot of flack from the Christian community, I guess, because of the fact. I mean, if you look at her channel, she's been having a lot of atheists on, and she does that atheists of a month thing, right? So she's been interviewing a lot of atheists on her channel, and she says she's been getting a lot of flack,
Really?
and like kind of losing her Christian audience because of that. She did.
Hey,
say
it's
that
my
the other
albino
day,
brother
so-
from another mother, Randolph.
Hey, happy tables to you.
I mean, come on, look at Randolph. You, you can't tell me he's not albino also.
Yep, I think so. I agree. Anyway, I didn't cover any of the natural selection stuff I wanted to cover, and I do want to cover a whole bunch of stuff. I've been asking Danny in comments for like about 30 comments to write out how a theory can be intentional. And so far he hasn't. He insists that he told me, but I don't think he explained how a theory can be intentional.
Intentional with an S or intentional with a T?
Intentional with an S, yeah.
All right.
How can a theory be intentional? And he hasn't explained that. So he says it's a true dichotomy. Either a theory is extensional or intentional. And I don't get that. So he says causation is extensional, and I don't quite get that either, because causation is a whole lot of deepening. When you look at how, one thing causing another, it ain't that simple ever. Never that simple. And there's a whole bunch of theories on causation by like Lewis and why did I forget his name? Somebody really famous whose book I have right here. Pearl. Yeah, Pearl and Lewis are probably the biggest ones on causation. Hi, Leo. Anyway, but we'll probably get to that here over the course of the week.
Howdy.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, not that I necessarily agree, but just to play devil's advocate, I think Danny would say something like that. If a predicate is intentional, then you're not going to be able to explain it just in terms of whatever the things that it's applicable to are. You're going to need to explain it in terms of like its meaning or its understanding. So in that sense, a theory couldn't be purely intentional because it can't be you can't explain a theory just by appealing to what the theory applies to. There has to be a meaning, a context, an understanding that you're appealing to when you're explaining what it is.
Yeah, but okay, if you look at a theory as a theory can be a hypothesis generator, like a generator of statements or hypotheses, right? And one of the things that concerns me about it is that the statements that they generate are really naive and simplistic. What the hell was the one about? I've got some examples here, but I guess I'm not totally prepared to go into that right now, but I have some examples of some very naive theories. Like, okay. One of them is that natural selection selected for frogs that catch flies. That would be a very naive statement that is not generated by the theory of evolution. Maybe the entire theory of evolution could generate that, but you would have to take into account embryology and ecology and a whole bunch of other things. But natural selection itself would never generate that kind of a statement. And then Fodor says, oh, well, then it fails. Well, no, it wasn't meant to generate that kind of a statement at all. So it's kind of an attack on a straw man. And the thing is, I've been reviewing people that have criticized Fodor, and holy shit, are there a butt ton of people that really just totally hated everything Fodor said, basically. So anyway.
Yeah, I know Fodor's received a lot of criticism. I don't know if I would say that it's attacking a straw man so much as I would say that it's attacking a particular way of interpreting what a theory is that I don't think everybody's necessarily committed to. Right. And I think that to me, that's the main issue, is that somebody who's not committed to, some particular interpretation of what a theory is might not necessarily agree with the objections that are rooted in that interpretation.
Well, if you look at the history of this, Fodor first started out criticizing behaviorism, and then he started criticizing evolutionary psychology, which was the king of disso stories, and that's why it got itself in trouble, right? So evolutionary psychology was full of just those stories that were talking about how things were selected for. And there is no selected for in natural selection. There is only selection of. There's selection
I
of,
agree.
not selected for.
Yeah, and just really quickly, in terms of what natural selection as I understand it is, and as I understand that it is understood in academia, is that selection for doesn't really make a lot of sense because there are connotations associated with that terminology that really are just not implicit in the science, in what we're observing. That it's, like you said, it's selection of.
Yeah. Yeah, there's selection of and there's selection against, and those are the only two categories. And between them, you could look at the possibility of something called neutral selection, or basically neutral mutations. And it all makes a hell of a lot of sense when you look at it mathematically. Mm-hmm. And the thing is, there are like really complicated mathematical models that explain how natural selection works in populations that do not refer at all to traits. They don't have to refer.
I don't think you need to. I think that what we call natural selection is actually just a statistical process.
Exactly.
It's a statistical process of chemicals and the particular. I mean, and I'm speaking at very much an essential level here, but obviously that's where most of this emerges from. I think that this is just a statistical process resulting from the reactions that a particular set of molecules and chemicals can engage in.
Yeah.
Wait, who just left? Oh, Richard.
Richard left. I don't know why.
God damn
Don't
it,
know
Richard.
why. Let's see. Okay, AJ is complaining.
Wait, why are we calling him Richard? His name is Randolph. Or are we?
Randolph.
Right, Richard, Randall, whatever.
Richard
Sorry.
Soon, but yeah.
Quinn Richard Randolphson.
I look at that name and I always
I
make
wanted
that
to-
same mistake. I think we're dyslexic. I don't know.
Speed. I wanted to jump in on what AJ is doing here. I mean, I like AJ, and he's bringing a video. I want you to give a shout out to an entire channel. I'll put it in the private chat here for you to link, and I'll put it in the public chat right now. That's a new channel. That's my fellow host, because I'm not going to call him a co-host anymore. He's a fellow host, Robert Reed, and everybody on the planet should go and subscribe to that channel.
I loved him in the Brady Bunch.
Different Reed. Oh yeah, different Reed. Okay, what's the name of the channel, Peter?
Robert Reed.
Open link in new channel.
The link is in the private chat.
And apparently he has all the powers of
Superman.
No, who? Never mind. He was on Netflix. I can't remember the name.
Okay.
Yeah, that's him.
Can I comment?
I was going to say Luke Cage.
Can I comment on the Rebecca video that you guys were going over there? So, and you know, I want to reiterate, because I was being honest when I said it. I do think that Rebecca is genuine in what she believes. I get a lot of genuity from her, despite the fact that I disagree with a lot of what she says. But
I agree with that.
Yeah. The whole
with both statements. Just wanted to say that.
Mm-hmm. The thing with this complexity argument is, I'm just like, I could sit here and say, yeah, there are structures in life that are in living organisms that are irreducibly complex. Now carry me from that to intelligent design. I just don't see the connection. I could grant DNA is a code. It stores information. It's irreducibly complex. I could grant all of it. Carry me from that to intelligent design. I at least thus far have not seen a convincing argument that connects those two. I don't see it.
Okay.
Nobody sees it.
I'm confused.
They do, apparently. I don't know what it is that they're seeing, but they're not doing a good job of helping me to see whatever it is. I'm starting to think it's really just their preconceived biases that they're working from, rather than an actual legitimate inference from any data. But
Right,
that's
but
just me.
I do have a question. Is irreducible complexity that cannot be reduced any further?
Yes, it would be like, so when we look at a whole human, a whole human is a very complex organism. It's a very complex thing. But when you look at one single cell, it's still a very complex thing. So the complexity, there hasn't been much change in the complexity going from a whole multicellular organism to one cell in the organism.
Right, but I would
so
argue...
the complexity doesn't reduce as you drop in scale, which they're going to argue something like under a sort of a naturalist or a purely physicalist perspective, you should expect that complexity to reduce as you reduce in scale. But it doesn't seem that it does. So that complexity must be irreducible. But the problem is, in virtue of what does irreducible complexity imply intelligent design? That's the question I have to answer.
Well, and also, I do think you could probably take it further, because you know as well as I do that atoms used to be believed that they were indivisible, right? But then we found out that they were made of smaller. They were made of smaller particles. I believe the smallest that we found is a quark.
Hey,
Right?
boys and girls.
Yes.
I'm going in the wrong direction. I told Danny he could come in. Oh, I'm supposed to email you a link? I think you're banned on most of your accounts.
You always make that mistake.
Do you want me to just send it to him on Discord? Or do you okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I'm going to be honest. He's probably just going to talk to me like pretty much the entire time. So unless somebody else engages him, then he might respond.
Okay, I'm going to be honest. I'm going to boot him out at some point. So
at least give him the 15 minutes he asked for. I don't care if it's like
15?
exactly 50. He asked for 15 minutes. I would give him 15 minutes on the dot.
Okay, 5 minutes is
on
free.
the dot.
5 minutes is free. 15 minutes, you got to fucking pay for that shit. I'm not doing this for. I'm not doing this for my health. You should know that. So, especially Danny. I mean, he has sent me money in the past. In fact, every time he's been on my channel, he has, sent me Venmo me some money. So,
but going back to what I was saying, I can't say, and that's what I was trying. And I do genuinely mean it with all due respect, but I don't think Rebecca did I don't think that she sufficiently answered my question when I kept pressing her on in virtue of what do things like complexity, function, order, in virtue of what do those imply intelligent design? There was just a reiteration that they do, but not an explanation of how. And that's the question that they need to answer. And it's never been answered. I mean, even Danny has pressed, amongst others, has pressed Otangelo on this. It's never been answered.
Oh my God, AJ has an incredible new video, and I'm linking it in my description, and we're putting it here. AJ has a wrench, right? You could link it yourself.
I believe he does, yes.
He did a while ago.
He's got a wrench.
Yeah, I was going to say, I see blue.
He posted two of them a while ago.
And AJ, he's been bugging me for 5 minutes to basically show his video and show his channel. And AJ, you don't fucking need me. You got 2,000 subs. I got 500.
Yeah, I know.
So what the fuck?
Yeah.
But
so Danny will be able to come in after he sobers up.
I don't want to.
He's saying he. And so, Danny, what have you been drinking?
Yeah.
Speed, hold on. I don't want to start a riot here, but you should start asking AJ to put up links to your channel in the description.
I did ask him.
You definitely should do that.
Yeah,
I did. He's got more subs than you do.
I know. I did watch this video.
More times?
This video is pretty good. So anyway, I did watch it. But there you go, AJ. Okay, now we're letting Danny in. Oh my God.
There's an impatient person in the private chat.
I did want to.
Very impatient.
I'm going to start drinking again.
I did want to give a quick shout out, actually.
Wait a minute. Okay, I got to read all the private chats before I let Danny in. Okay, here, her, here, her, here. I'm her, here, her. I'm her, here, her. Can you let me in? I don't have a lot of time, please. Okay, now I can let him in.
Sorry, yeah. This is finals week for me. So I'm here.
It's Bible week.
Finals. I have finals.
Oh,
finals.
That I need to be kicked out within 15 minutes. So this works out.
We'll kick you out sooner than that, Danny. Don't worry.
I appreciate that. I really do need that. Okay. All I really want to talk to is Leo. I mean, if you can ask your questions for clarification, that's fine. But my explanations are directed at Leo. So the problem I have with natural selection, just selection in general, is this. Suppose you have several generations of
just really quickly, when you say selection in general, you're referring to in general in terms of evolutionary selection, selective processes.
So last time I talked to Speed, I don't know if you watched our video. It was a pretty good video. And I got a lot of views, Speed. Did you realize that? I don't know. I didn't know people were interested. I thought people were burnt out on this.
No, apparently not.
Guess not.
Which is insane to me. But because I'm never burnt out on this stuff, but how are y'all not burnt out? I mean, even
they love you, Danny.
Because I'm still, I think I understand what the original objection is, but I'm still a little bit skeptical of that, just at times.
So let me give it. I think I've come out with a way, and I have to thank Speed for this because I've had to come up with ways to explain the argument. Okay, so I gave this to Speed. He didn't really find it reason giving, but that's fine. I want to see what you think, Leo. The idea is this: if you have a case of breeding, of artificial selection, okay, you're going to have a certain number of generations of F generations, right? And you can look at the most recent F generation, okay, and you're going to see, let's say that this animal has brown fur and long hair, okay, so brown fur, long, so long and brown, okay. Now let's just stipulate that the breeders are in full control, just like in the same sense that the environment is in a sense has a control over what's being expressed, more or less. Okay. So here's the question, right? We know that it's because of the breeder that we see the phenotypic traits, the alleles, the way they are, right? Now, here's the question. Was the breeder, or in terms of what sort of phenotypes kind of moved to fixation, was it the long hair? If the long hair and the brown hair are coextensional, which they are, I've stipulated that, how can we know which one was being selected for, which one mattered to the breeder? Now, the answer to that question is quite difficult, but there's a kind of a cheat code you can use with respect to this. You can actually appeal to the content of the desires of the breeder themselves. Let's say you ask the breeder, is it that these are here because of their long hair or because of their brown hair? They're going to just tell you, oh, we wanted brown hair animals. We could care less about the long hair. Okay. And that's the nice thing about artificial selection, right? The idea of artificial selection is that in order to differentiate those traits in terms of the traits that mattered versus the traits that are just right along, you could appeal to the content of the desire directly, right? So the way that you differentiate traits will ultimately be content of whatever explanation you're giving, right? And so if we want to say it's the desire that of the breeders that they wanted brown hair, that's going to differentiate between the coextensional traits brown hair and long hair. And so you can ground a counterfactual, right? That had they not had long hair, you would have still seen the brown hair. But if there was, or, you know, do I have to explain the counterfactual stuff, or do you want me to? I don't know if you're following me so far. You're muted. You're muted.
Oh, I don't know why I'm muted. Yeah, no, I'm following you.
Okay. So now let's take out the breeders, and we see it's actually physically possible that we could see those exact F generations. Okay. The exact F generations. And we look at the most recent F generation, and we see once again that coextensionality, right? We see brown hair and long hair. Now, what the heck do we appeal to differentiate?
Is this sort of asking in the first instance where you have the actual breeder, the agent, it's a breeder, it is in virtue of their intentions with a T that you appeal to that to explain which trait was actually selected for. So it's asking in virtue of what, absent that, are you, in virtue of what is the trait, like what are you appealing to explain which trait was
right
fixated?
now? Exactly. Now they want to say that it's because of natural selection, right? Now, I think there's great explanations for how these F generations got the phenotypes that they do, right? But I think that they're going to get that answer from kind of this trial and error, these models that they've gotten from that sort of organism or a type of organism that's similar with a similar type of environment. They're going to do a lot of other kinds of work, but what they're not going to do is appeal to content, right? And natural selection is supposed to be this mechanism, this explanation that has that content, but it doesn't. Right? There's nothing in natural selection that has the kind of content that a desire or a law. But suppose there's a law. Now, Fodor says it's either you're going to get a content from a desire or an intentional state or a law. So suppose there's a law that for this kind of environment, every time you see this kind of environment, the environment will select for brown hair. Right? If there's that law, then that has the content that you need to differentiate the traits. But because Fodor is saying there are no laws of selection, there's nothing in terms of content that we can use to disentangle these coextensional traits. So in terms of how we come to know which trait mattered, to disentangle the coextensional traits, that's going to be something other than the content of the explanation, like in a theory or a mechanism or an intentional state, which has meaning. Because remember, the difference between intentional with an S and extensional with an S is intentional has to do with meaning, content. Extensional has nothing to do with meaning, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
are you arguing that natural selection is extensional and that that's a problem for?
Well, I'm saying that in order to disambiguate those traits, you need if at least in a and through a theory, is that the theory is going to should provide content to where you can disambiguate.
Should provide it like intentions with an S.
With an S, right? The idea is that suppose the theory, there's a theory of natural selection saying that for this sort of environment, let's say all desert environments, you should see brown skin, okay, of this particular nanometers, right? So that means that if there is something coextensional with the brown skin, let's say it's speckled or something like that, okay, you're going to know that the speckle doesn't matter because there's a law, there's a theory that we have that we can appeal to disambiguate the coextensive traits. But the fact is that there's no such content, there's no such laws, there's no such regularities, given the, as Fodor says, the plethora of environments and organisms are so vast that how we end up coming to know or being able to disentangle the coextensive traits is not through a theory at all. It has to be this kind of weird ass trial and error, the going into the particular,
like more of an examination by an agent to determine which trait seems to be the one that's actually making the most effect here, rather than appealing to some sort of like theoretical explanation that tells us which one it is.
So the idea is, the last thing I'm going to say, the idea there is that, let's take my desert example, right? Since there's no theory or laws about connecting deserts to a particular shade of skin color, you can make very specific, the nanometer or whatever of color, right? Then what you're going to have to do is to go into that environment and really do this particular kind of investigation, similar to I use the fridge example, where if you want to know why things are in someone's fridge, you might want to go in that particular household and ask them, why is it that you have margarine rather than butter, right? And you see, you're not going to appeal, even though there is intention there with an S with respect to the desires of what we want in the fridge or whatever. There's still not going to be an overall theory of it, because the theory is going to provide the same thing that a desire is going to, content for you to disambiguate coextensive traits. That's Fodor's objection to natural selection.
Yeah, I understand that. I don't think I really disagree with that. What I would say is that I would wonder whether evolutionary biologists already understand that in terms understanding natural selection, just in terms of the bare science, gives us one trait that is being fixated for, or whether they know that there's always going to be sort of those ride-alongs, and we're never really going to be able to figure out which one it is. But we know that these traits are a result of natural processes occurring in the environment, right? that ultimately whatever trait is the one that's being selected for, if it's one, ultimately this set of traits leads to the creature being better apted for survival.
Right, and so I think Fodor is saying that, look, scientists already implicitly know this. They implicitly know this, but they're still talking like they're appealing to a theory when they're really not. They're appealing to models. They're appealing to what they've learned in particular cases, similar to, like, hey, if I saw eggs in the fridge, very likely you're going to make, I don't know, eggs in the morning. But that we can make models of that. We can learn by going into people's households, doing surveys, but none of that. We're getting to know why there are these particular phenotypic traits, or this kind of distribution of alleles, or whatever biological property across heritable biological property. We're gonna get that apart from any kind of theory that delivers content to disambiguate between coextensionality of these phenotypic traits or allelic traits, whatever your theory of.
So just understand, and I'm going to use a term here, I think you might understand what I mean. You're saying that we have to appeal to agent explanation, or rather agent examination, than like it's being examined by an agent, rather than appealing to a law or strictly a scientific theory.
Fodor is saying we have to get our hands dirty with the environment. We can't just cheat and appeal. Like in the breeder case, we don't need to do any investigation of the physical facts outside the ecological variables in the organisms, because we've stipulated the breeder's intentions are in full control, right?
Okay.
So we don't need to go into the sort of facilities and examine the ecological variables that they set up, because we have the answer. The intentions can give us the answer in terms of how to disambiguate between coextensional traits. That is the objection. Yeah.
So just a really quick question. Would you say that natural selection is non-scientific, or would you say that it is scientific, but there's more there than what?
Sometimes they want to say it's just models or mathematical truths, and I think that I don't know. Look, I don't know where to go from here, because I think there are problems all sorts of ways.
Do you think natural selection is scientific? Or does this come down to what somebody means by scientific?
When I do use the phrase natural selection, even in explanatory cases, but I think what I am personally saying when I tell my students natural selection is operating, is I'm saying there's just a naturalistic explanation in the environment. But that's not that's not telling me anything, right? That's just saying I'm just ruling out a couple set of hypotheses. Number one, that a mind is doing anything, right? And maybe number two, that it's not that the traits in question enter the causal narrative. It's not something like genetic drift, right? And that's all I'm saying, right? But that's not. I think that if you look at some of the literature, like anything from Ernest Mayr to the Diamond, I can't remember his first name, to what we have in the average high school and college textbooks, they're making it. They're saying it does a lot more than it's supposed to do.
So, and I hope I don't misuse this term here. Are you saying that there's some level of arbitrariness to the explicative capabilities?
No, I think these are really good explanations they're providing. I think we can know that polar bears are selected for their camouflage and not for the flashiness of their fur. I think we can know those things, but we're not appealing to content to disambiguate traits. We're appealing to our dirty work in the field, not to.
Okay, yeah. And the thing is, I agree with that. I think that's how a lot of science is done. I mean, there's CRISPR is in the side chat referencing quantum mechanics and, the difference between quantum states, because that is also an entirely statistical thing. And I think that there is a little bit of a parity here in that when it comes to determining what quantum state, say, an electron is in terms of its spin, that is to an extent not just going to be determined by just looking at the laws or the physical facts of the matter. It's going to depend on how you're measuring the system, and at least with regard to us, that's going to depend on how we measure that system. So you have to consider what we're doing in it. You can't just appeal to the just strictly the physical facts of the matter. They're not enough to explain why certain outcomes are the way they are.
Yeah, I think, look, there might be, I don't really think there's a big fallout here for science. I really don't think so. And I've been saying that ever since I talked to Speed, that Speed's asking, why is it that, so who cares? What is the implication here for scientists? I'm just saying that, I'm basically telling the science, give yourselves more credit. You're not appealing, you're not cheating. Look, think about this, right? Take the breeder example. Suppose we get to do two things, right? I get to ask the breeder, why is it, what's important here? The brown fur, the long fur, and what you instead, and let's say I that's cheating. That's so easy. I could just appeal to a theory or the desire of the breeders, right? But let's say I'm charging, look, you can't appeal to any of that. You have to go in. Now how are you going to know in terms of how to disambiguate the traits? You're going to have to really be with the animal, so to speak, in the environment and try really hard to utilize your intuitions, your past background about the animals and the color and the fur and the ecological variables. You're going to have it a lot harder time. And I think that the idea is that the biologists have done this work, right? They have not appealed to a God mind to know what was being selected for, nor have they appealed to this overarching theory of selection.
So are you saying something like that there's way more there than just the bare physical facts in determining these things, and we need to stop saying that we can understand this purely in terms of just those physical facts?
You're gonna have to clarify your question. Do you think you said it most clearly? That if you did it, just repeat it and I might get it.
I'm trying. I want to make sure that I word this the right way, in a way that's not confusing. I might be using terms that I'm understanding.
Can I draw a parallel to another field of
yes,
study?
Yes,
okay.
please.
So look, why is it that if we ask the question, why do people get an education? We can make very good right here and now. We can actually make some pretty good predictions about what people might say in terms of why they're in college or why they're getting a certificate or a degree, right? They might be, most of these cases, they're interested in a career, right? Not all cases, right? But the idea is that in the end, if we're wanting to know why a particular group of people or a particular individual, right, is getting a degree, we're not going to appeal to a theory of psychology. We're just going to examine that person's environment, their values, the society. How is it a capitalist society? Because that makes a big difference in terms of why someone might get an education, right? The idea is that the particulars matter way more than some theory of psychology that we may or may not have, right?
So is this... Oh, shit. Wow, I hate when this happens. So are you saying something like that? That there isn't really a law or a theory that we can appeal to because this involves more than just that. That this
It's too
involves
delicate.
our
It's too
understanding.
contextualized. It really depends on your circumstances. That's the problem. Why?
So it depends a lot on the on our understanding of, like, say, the laws and the mechanisms that are involved. We can't appeal to just the mechanisms. That they're not enough.
Please interrupt me.
Leo. Okay, hold on a second. I want to draw your attention to what Danny claimed on the screen right now, and that's the part that now it seems like you're backing down a little bit on this, Danny. And
no,
that's good. You should.
That. I stand by that.
Okay, so you stand by that. That UberBoyo is just natural history.
Right.
There's no theory. No theory.
If UberBoyo is studying the way that alleles work, like basically molecular biology or genetics, then you start to step away from natural history, right? But I'm saying,
okay, wait. No, the entire theory of evolution is just natural history.
Yes.
In other words, it's no different than our study of the Roman Empire.
It's no different than paleontology, studying why the Napoleon lost the war, why human beings currently have certain types of technology. I think that the practices, the methodologies might be a little different, but in terms of how is it that we come to know about how there are heritable traits, right? Obviously, that's not present in studying the history of wars and political social structures, right? There's no heritability in that sense. So there are unique things in biology, but just think about what heritability implies. I mean, it implies history, right? The idea is that there was these generations, right? We're trying to explain why is it that there are phenotypes of this kind, of this frequency, given these environments. That's the essential question of evolutionary biology, right?
Okay, what's the theory of Caesars in Rome?
There isn't one.
There isn't one.
I think that's his point, is that you can't, there isn't going to be like theories or laws that you're appealing to, that there's going to be a broader context in which it's understood that you're going to have to appeal to in order to really explain what's going on. At least that's how I'm getting it.
Okay, this is precisely why scientists lose their shit when you say this, because as far as theory goes,
on the screenshot or just general?
This in general, we'll get to the screenshot. Scientists lose their shit in general because this theory is so deep, so complex, so well worked out. There are so many parts to it that when you say it's just the same as if we had a theory of Caesar, we lose our shit because you're talking out of your ass there. And this also is talking basically, okay, what Fodor thinks that a theory of natural selection is supposed to do, or theory of evolution is supposed to do, is articulate principles between ecological variables and certain phenotypic traits. Now, that doesn't even entirely make sense, but it can accomplish some of those things. Like, for instance, we can look at a population of frogs and figure out why they eat flies.
Okay, so let me deal with the first charge. I don't see. I know that when I said that, oh well, it's just natural history. My demeanor was very hand wavy, like it's just this. But maybe that was a little bit unfair on my part. I don't think
a little bit.
No. I still stand by the claim. I just don't stand by the rhetoric, right? Because the idea is that there's very complex models of how things are selected for, right? But I'm just saying that those are not what are doing the explanatory work and why a trait goes to fixation, right?
I really don't, but I wanted to ask a quick question while it's fresh in my mind. Are you saying that natural selection just isn't explicative, or are you saying that it isn't explicative? It isn't explicative in virtue of laws and mechanisms alone?
My claim is that in any sense of the word, whether causal or non-causal, right, natural selection is not explicative or explanatory. I should say that's the claim, right? Because because it has to go back to the breeder example. The idea is that the content of a theory has to ground the factual, just like the content of the breeder's desire grounds the counterfactuals. But if you can't disambiguate between those coextensive traits, no counterfactual can be grounded, at least by that theory. It's going to have to be grounded elsewhere.
Mm-hmm. Which
Okay.
I do agree with that. I
Hey, Danny,
would think most philosophers.
Let me just explain.
probably would.
Let me just explain a particular case. You can ground counterfactuals without theories. Let me give you an example, right? So I asked, well, Leo's thinking about going to school. Let's say he does, right? I asked Leo, why do you want to go to school, right? What's the explanation for that? And he says, well, I want to make over $60,000 a year, right? And the idea is that if Leo found out that going to school does not earn him at least 60K, he would have not gone to school, right? It grounds that counterfactual, and so it's a good explanation, right? This is what biologists do, right? Why is it that polar bears have this particular phenotype with respect to fur, right? Well, in this environment in the Arctic, there's all these ecological variables, and it interacts with these phenotypes such that it grounds some counterfactual. They're not appealing to the content of a theory of NS or selection or laws or anything like that, or desires, anything intentional.
Okay, I got to kick you out now, Danny. It's been 15 minutes.
Okay, that's fine. Thanks.
Okay. Well, you can go too.
Okay,
He's allowing you to have.
I'm going to make you kick. You're going to kick me out.
That was more than 15 minutes. I gotta say that's what it seems like.
It was good though.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's all just like rhetoric and meaningless, like telling biologists what they already know. And part of it seems to be about how people talk about natural selection. And those are called just so stories, right? And I would agree with that entirely, that there's a whole hell of a lot of just so storytelling in pop literature, but that isn't the theory of evolution. And what happens with like the polar bears, like having white fur, very little of that is concerned with those counterfactuals about why they would or would not have had white fur, right? You're looking at a more abstract level of selection. And what you're looking at is how a population, like if you observed a population and there was like 10% white fur and 30% other colors, you would know something about the natural selection on that particular trait. Okay, but if you looked at it and you saw 99.9% white fur, you would know something significant about this, about how that was selected. So selection of white fur, and you could look at the genes in that population and you would see certain genes that were conserved and genes that were not. And you could tell a whole lot without asking any of these questions about why a particular trait happened. You wouldn't have to talk about how cold it was or what the environment was or any of that. In fact, most of all of population genetics is concerned with these formulaic models where we can make a ton of predictions without ever referring to a trait. Now, when you talk about traits in life, the interesting thing about life is that there is no, like if you rewound the clock and you did it again, there's a goddamn good chance that you would end up with an entirely different set of species. Okay. That hasn't been resolved entirely. And there's two schools of thought on that about whether or not it would have channeled the same way. But there's all this variation in life that you're not going to have any kind of laws for, because that is the variation part of natural selection. So natural selection has a couple of elements. Number one, reproduction. Okay, reproduction at a variable rate. In other words, it isn't just one animal having one offspring. It's one animal having 0 to n offspring. Number two, there's mutation. And number three, there are populations and there is selection on that population. And those things together make the theory of natural selection. And that's all you need. And you never have to appeal to whether flies are catching fucking BBs or whether polar bears or dogs have brown fur or any of that. And that's the part that Fodor was kind of like foghorn leghorn, just blathering about something that really doesn't mean anything. And he did it in such a way that it was extremely complex to understand what the fuck he was talking about, right? And But anyway, we'll look into intention and extension, which are very interesting aspects of set theory and category theory that, well, not that category theory, but how we categorize things tomorrow. But we're almost ready to shoot her in the head. So anyway, I don't know. Don't you think it's kind of like much ado about nothing, Leo? I mean,
it just depends.
Yeah, the criticism lands that anytime somebody says selection for, they're automatically going off the rails a little bit. But if you say selection of, that's a different matter.
Well, Speed, I want to say that you want to keep having this argument with Danny.
Oh, because it's interesting.
Can
There's a whole lot of philosophy involved here.
Can I say that while you were beating that horse, something really interesting came up in the side chat that you entirely missed. It's a brand new discovery.
Energy?
No. This was long ago. More than 15 minutes.
Well, fuck, I can't go back that far.
Did you know that everything bends in water? I didn't know that.
Really?
What?
I'm going to put a rock in the creek next to my cabin and see what happens.
I mean, did Stephanie say that?
Well, wait a
that
minute,
sounds like
Peter.
something she'd say.
Yeah.
Put a cookie in the creek.
Wow.
Put a cookie in the creek.
Are you talking about refracting lensing of?
Yeah, and there was there's a key as well somewhere inside of you, and I want to know where that is and how to find it.
The key.
A key.
The key. Okay.
It's a God key.
Oh my goodness. Anyway, that was fun.
No, it wasn't. But
yeah, whatever.
I'm glad you.
I'm glad. You glad I had fun though? I had fun. I was like,
I did want to say, if I may, I don't know what a G matrix is, but I can tell you what an S matrix is.
Do we need to take this into the back room?
No.
Yeah, we're gonna shoot her in the head. Yeah. I think we need to take it in the back room.
It's not appropriate.
Leo,
I mean, unless quantum field theory isn't appropriate, I didn't.
Okay, go ahead. You're good.
Well, no, I was just saying that's what the S matrix relates to. I don't know what a G matrix is, just an S matrix. A P matrix too, I've heard of that, but I think that's more abstract.
G matrix is some complicated shit.
S matrix is not easy. I mean, it's something that's can get a little hairy.
Yeah. Anyway, let's shoot her in the head, guys. We did our work. We came, we went. Are you good with that? Everybody good with that?
Why do we have to ask? It's your channel.
I'm good with it.
God, I hate that when you ask me why we have to ask, because I'm trying to be
Why
polite.
can't
I'm not gonna
be friends?
Okay. I'm not gonna listen to you fuckers, but I have to ask. I have to at least pretend to be polite.
Chris Peacock's really getting into social justice issues.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh wait, hold on. I just realized something.
No, fuck you.
No, seriously.
I'm not gonna be nice. No.
Is Chris Peacock's name supposed to be like a play on crispy cock?
Yes.
It is really. I thought it was just. That's fucked
oh fuck!
up.
I just put that together. Leo, I just realized that when you said it.
I didn't get it till now. It's supposed
I
to be
didn't get it till now either.
I thought it was just crispy.
Stupid Pardon Energy. You can come back into the back room if you want to talk more.
Okay.
It's also, I know people that have the last name Peacock, so like actually, so that's maybe why it wasn't weird.
Oh
to
my
me.
god! I wonder if there's really. Oh god! You wouldn't name your kid Chris if your last name.
But the way that Scott said it when he said it, Chris Peacock, and I was like, wait, is that name supposed to be a play on crispy cock? Because if it is, I'm just now fucking getting it.
Yeah, I'm just getting it myself. We're so sad.
Maybe that's why we're just now seeing Chris get politically active, is because people just start going off on his name, and nobody can hear the message about prism reform.
Look at
fuck it all. Goodbye,
That is
cruel
funny as
world.
fuck.
Look at Crisp's.
Goodbye, cruel world.